Hello and welcome. You are listening to the Spiritual Sisters podcast. My name is Gabrielle Celeste.
I feel like I should have brought us in.
Oh, you can start over.
Only because more enthusiasm. Happy birthday, America. Come on.
Go for it.
No, you.
Happy birthday, America. Hello and welcome. You are listening to the Spiritual Sisters podcast. My name is Gabrielle Celeste.
You gotta do it again because then I gotta edit out those fucking leg slaps. You don't understand. Okay. Happy birthday, America. Welcome back. This intro's been rough, fun. Welcome.
Hi. I'm Gabrielle Celeste.
Happy 4th of July.
Happy birthday, America. America.
Happy birthday, America. America.
Where did that come from? I don't even know.
I don't know, but I have videos of my son doing that a couple years ago when he was little, and it was so cute. And he would go, America.
I've never seen those videos.
I don't know where it came from.
So how are you doing?
We're good. We made it through the first half of the year.
Yep. We survived, but it was kind of a blur, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Went by so quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. How's school?
School's almost done.
How are we feeling?
And mixed feelings. I was already thinking, oh, what can I get into next? Do I want to study human design? Do I want to do something completely different? I think I'm just going to take a break and focus on what I've learned before I do anything else.
That's actually really wise and smart because a lot of us don't do that, myself included, and I didn't honor the integration period. And after I finished, I broke out in hives and my body was real tired, and I just kept going, and I pretty much experienced adrenal fatigue from an energetic perspective, and that was wild. So I think you're going about it the very smart and logical way.
Yeah, they were talking about ascension flu the other day.
I've never heard of that. I love that term.
Yeah, just, like people just getting like flu-like symptoms and being really sick. So let's hope that doesn't happen. But I'm going to, I think, be launching paid readings soon. So keep an ear out for that, people.
Oh, and can I just plug reviews as well? Wherever you listen to podcasts, ladies and gentlemen, we would love a review.
Yes, please. Thank you. Share with a friend.
It helps us grow and spread
Share with a coworker.
Share the gospel.
Share with people you don't like.
Yeah.
Just because.
Because why not?
All right. What's up with you?
Oh, I'm going under. I'm going down.
Bitch is going down.
She's going down. Oh, I'm like, I feel my ego death coming, my next ego death. And like all today, I was like, oh, and it's not my period. I can't blame it on my period because I just had that. I'm literally like, yep, it's time for the next little ascension to occur. So,
Fun.
Can't avoid them.
Fun. Let me know how that goes. We'll document it here. We'll check in next week and see how it's going.
Yep. Well, that's my check-in.
Good luck to you with that.
Well, thank you. So what are we talking about today, I should say?
Today, we're going to talk about American conspiracy theories. However, before we jump in, we wanted to share one of our podcast friends, the girls over at Wine Time, Heather and Rachel. They are a mom cast, and so they talk about lots of things mom related. So to our moms listening, check them out. They also cover crimes that involve moms. So moms who commit crimes that are committed against moms. So go check out their podcast. So
all right, Nichole. So tell me about conspiracies. I want to know more because I have a thing about presidents as well, and we have our favorites, as you and I both know. Kennedy, the Kennedys for the
Mm-hmm.
both of us. I'm obsessed with
Oh,
Reagan.
you're gonna like today.
Mm-hmm. Jimmy Carter. He ain't bad. I know that people either loved him or hated him.
I don't know a lot
But
about him.
he's still kicking. I don't think he's passed yet. He's in hospice though.
Are you sure? I feel like he's dead.
Let me Google that on the side, but I'm
Google
pretty
it.
sure he's still
Google it while I'm talking about it. Okay.
okay.
So, yeah, today we wanted to do something kind of fun. And we wanted to talk about American conspiracy theories. Well, actually, no, we didn't. I'm lying. We originally had a different plan for today. I think we were going to talk about one president specifically. And I was taking a nap about a month ago. Is he dead?
No, he's alive.
Oh, he's alive.
See,
Oh,
I knew
okay.
he's in his 90s though. I knew it.
Oh, so he's almost dead.
He's like as old as the queen that just passed away.
Oh,
Long live the
yeah.
queen.
So, anyway, so I was taking a nap about a month ago and I woke up from the nap and I was just like, American conspiracy theories. So, that's how we got to today. So, today, Gabs, you're just going to kind of listen and tell me what you think about some of these.
I'm just cruising today. Wow. Okay. I'm here for it.
I mean, don't get too excited. No, you're going to have to give me your thoughts and feedback. This is not a solo podcast.
This is true. I imagine us doing solo episodes, which we are probably not
That
going to
sounds
do. But
awful.
yeah. Well, should we say that now and then 2 years from now? Life updates because we're famous. Because that's what I'm
That
calling
sounds
in.
awful.
You don't want to be famous?
I don't want to do, no, I don't want to be famous and I don't want to do solo episodes.
So words or spells, I want to be famous. In fact, it's in my birth chart. So watch out, guys.
Oh my God, does that mean it's in mine because ours are like similar?
Yeah. Yeah, we're like going to be known.
Well, we're known to 100 people, so that's
right
good.
now. Oh my gosh, don't be a negative Nancy.
I'm not trying to be like over zealous. Is that the right word?
I don't know. You're just keeping it real. That's what you're doing. I get it, but no, words or spells. We're going to be famous.
I want to stay here on Earth. Anyway, listen up. Okay. So we were going to talk about conspiracy theories. And so what are conspiracy theories? It's the belief that some secret but influential organization is responsible for an event or phenomenon. And people love conspiracy theories. I love a good conspiracy theory. I don't know necessarily that I believe in them, but I like just hearing different explanations and I like to just, let my mind do a little bit of working and let my mind kind of try to figure things out. But why, right? Why do people love conspiracy theories? And so people are trying to understand complex events, and conspiracy theories offer people are trying to understand complex events, and conspiracy theories offer simple solutions. So they tend to flourish when people need answers in times of stress, when people are worried and feeling threatened. So think about during COVID, right? There was like some conspiracy theories going on during COVID, and that's not one that we're going to talk about today, but like just think back to that time, right? What do you remember hearing during COVID as far as like a conspiracy theory, Gabs?
Were we going to get flagged?
Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Write us in, DM us. What are your best COVID conspiracy theories? Anyway, so today we're just going to talk about 3 of them because it's going to take us the whole hour to probably talk about all 3 of them. So the first one that I wanted to talk about is the moon landing. So Gabs, who were the first 2 people to walk on the moon?
Neil Armstrong, and I don't know the other name. However, I do have my own understanding about the walking on the moon conspiracy.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just like conspiracies about the moon. Do you want me to share?
Yeah. Do you want to share now or do you want to share after the...
Well, who was the second person?
The second person was Edwin Buzz Aldrin,
Mm-hmm.
and it happened on July 20th, 1969.
So, in my mind, the Toy Story character was named after Buzz
Oh,
Aldrin.
Buzz Lightyear?
Mm-hmm. I mean,
Maybe.
I have no proof, but what I have heard about the moon is that the dark side of the moon is not yet or has ever been explored, and that's kind of like where the aliens hang out. And I am on
Oh,
an alien kick right now.
same.
Yeah, like galactic astrology is my thing. It's slowly becoming that. And the center of the moon apparently is hollow. And according to some psychics that talk to the Galactic Federation, who is basically like the neutral government, I would say, for aliens and other dimensional beings, they all meet in the center of the moon. It's kind of like a conference hall. Isn't that wild?
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay. Well, I think the moon landing's probably one of the more popular conspiracy theories. I think it's one that's kind of been around a while. And so they did a poll in 2019, and at that time there was 5 to 6% of Americans. So they did a poll in 2019, and at that time there were 5 to 6% of Americans that believed the moon landing was fake, which was a pretty big decrease because when they did a poll back in the 1970s, there was about 30% of people that thought that the moon landing was faked. So it's gone down quite a bit as far as people that think it was faked. But still, enough people still don't believe that it happened. And so, why? Right? Why would the US, why would us honest Americans fake it? We're like the most honest country.
I love the sarcasm.
We're the most honest, humble country ever. Anyway, why? So, because back in the 60s, there was like a space race going on between the United States and the Soviet Union. So, the Soviet Union had already beat us and they had already made it to space first. So, they had put the first man in space in 1961. And so, at that time, JFK, RIP to our favorite president,
Mm-hmm.
was president at the time. And so he vowed that, okay, we didn't make it to space first, but fuck it, we're going to get to the moon first. And so that was his goal, was to put the first man on the moon. But as we all know, he was killed in 1963 and the moon landing didn't happen until 1969, so he didn't get to witness it. So yeah.
I need to ask Dad if he remembers that time in our history.
I feel like he does because, I mean, if you ask, so let's, think about a more recent experience, 9/11.
Oh gosh,
You ask
yeah,
anybody that was alive when that happened, they can tell you where they were.
yeah. Well, I don't know if we've discussed this, but the astrology for the
No,
day
but I
that
think we're going to do an episode on that.
well, okay, well, we will. And I just wanted to say that the astrology, it repeats itself because everything works in cycles, as does history. And we have a very similar transit occurring next year,
Oh, great.
as it occurred back in 2001.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah,
So who was the president when we put the first man on the moon?
Nixon.
Good job. Okay. So, what are some of the reasons that you've heard, because I know you've heard this before. What are some of the reasons that you've heard as far as why people think that the US faked it? Or like what evidence do they have to support that idea?
I'm not sure.
You don't know any?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So, one claim is that the American flag in the photos from the moon looks like it's flapping in the wind, which would be impossible because there's no air on the moon. So that's one of the first things that people have pointed to as far as like, see, this isn't real. This didn't really happen. What are you thinking?
That there's air in space.
Is there?
I don't know.
Oh, I was like, have you been?
I don't want to go. Do you know that the people one of our girlfriends was telling me that the people that go to space end up
Mm.
having cancer typically when they come back, or developing cancer, and I was like, nope, not down for that.
Google that real quick. Google Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin and see how they died. See if that
I
was a
feel like
thing.
one was like old age. But yeah,
I'll
well,
double check. Okay. So the actuality, the truth behind that claim is that NASA had used rods to keep the flag in place because they knew that there wasn't going to be any air. So you're going to take a picture of a flag, but you're not going to be able to see what the flag is. So they put rods in it to kind of hold it in place. But the astronauts accidentally bent it a little bit. So it kind of looked like it was moving because it wasn't straight anymore. And then when they went to take the picture, because it was bent, it wasn't going to stand up straight. So they had to kind of like snap it really quickly. So it was like kind of maybe like in the process of toppling over when that was happening. Does it say?
mm-hmm. Neil Armstrong died from complications due to cardiovascular surgery,
Hmm.
and Buzz Aldrin is still married and alive.
Oh,
Should have said alive and married, and he got married for the fourth time at age 93 at the beginning of this year.
oh, get it. Okay.
Does it still work?
We're going to think it does. Okay, so the second claim, as far as why people think that it was faked, is because there was no stars that showed up in the background of the pictures. And they say that there weren't any stars because NASA knew that people would, like astronomers specifically, would be looking for the stars to figure out where the photos were taken, if they were taken on Earth or if they were taken on the moon. But the truth is that the shutter speeds on the cameras were too fast to capture any of like the light from the stars. So think about even just like our phones now, right? Or like the cameras on our phones, they're probably much better than they were in 1969. And we don't even pick up the stars really if we take a picture of the sky. So NASA used high shutter speeds to make sure that the pictures weren't overexposed from the bright light from the moon. So that's the explanation for not being able to see the stars in the background.
Hmm. I buy that.
You buy that?
I buy that. Yeah.
Yeah, because you know a little bit about photography, so
Mm-hmm. I'm sure everything's different up there too. So
right. And then the technology back in 1969, right? I'm sure it
totally.
wasn't. I mean, I'm sure NASA had the best technology, but it's probably better now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the third claim is that when the lunar module descended onto the moon's surface, it didn't scatter any dust and didn't leave a crater from the rocket blast that slowed its descent. The truth is, though, when they were landing on the moon, the astronauts were traveling horizontally and not vertically. So the thrusters weren't pointed down, right? They were pointed to the side because it was horizontal, so that wouldn't have kicked up any dust. But they said when it finally did touch down, you can see a little bit of dust being thrown up, even though it was going horizontally. They said some of it still did kick up a little bit. And then, as far as the lack of the crater, the astronauts didn't need to use a large blast to slow themselves down because the moon's gravity is roughly 1/6 that of Earth. So it was more of like a gentle landing than like a hard landing, I guess. Another claim is that the angle and colors of the shadows in the photographs from the moon are inconsistent, suggesting artificial lights were used to illuminate a set. What do you think? You made a face.
50-50 by that.
Okay.
I don't know about that one, but okay.
So the explanation is the many bumps, craters, and hills on the moon, along with the various light sources that illuminate it, light directly from the sun, and light reflected off the moon's surface, and light reflected off of Earth, cause what look like distortions and inconsistencies. And the astronauts' cameras had wide angle lenses that can distort objects. So that part I get, right? Because think about when you take like a pano picture on the iPhone, sometimes it's distorted, right? And that's like using a wider angle lens. So that part I get.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. And one of the last claims is Armstrong and the lunar module are seen reflected in Aldrin's helmet visor in like one of the iconic photos. However, there's no sign that either of them are holding a camera. So who took the picture?
Alien.
The aliens, maybe.
I mean, I wonder if like Buzz or Neil were ever approached and asked if they like what they really saw up there, you know? That's what I
I'm
want
sure
to
they
know.
were.
Yeah.
So the truth is that they had cameras that were mounted to their chests. So because of that, they didn't have to hold up the camera. So almost like I kind of imagined it like a GoPro. So like instead of having, your camera, you just strapped on a GoPro and that's what's taking the pictures. So additionally, people were saying that not only was the moon landing faked, but they filmed it at Area 51 and it was directed by Stanley Kubrick. Do you know
Hmm.
who he is?
I don't know who he is, but I know what Area 51 is, and I truly believe it exists.
What's Area 51?
Isn't that where like it's top secret government land, and that's where all the alien research and touchdown is conducted?
Supposedly where they have all the crafts, right?
I mean, the whistleblower case that just came out with
That was wild.
I die.
That
And
fucked me up for a little bit. Not gonna lie.
yeah, well, we're in a 7 year in numerology. If you add 2, 2, and 3, 2023, that's a 7, and 7 is the most spiritual number. And if aliens were to come up in any way, shape, or form, or to be discussed more in the mainstream media, this would be the year, and that's exactly what we're seeing.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so Stanley Kubrick, he's the director of The Shining, which great movie. Jack Nicholson, if you haven't seen it, it's creepy as fuck. Have you seen it?
Haven't seen it. Nope, haven't seen a lot of them.
God, Gabby,
I need a
you.
movie night.
Yeah, we're gonna watch like all the creepy movies and have popcorn and stay up till like 9 p.m. because we go to bed so early
So
on the
early.
regular. That's like us getting wild and crazy.
Truly.
So, they're not really sure where this came from, but people have said that Stanley Kubrick is the one that directed the footage for the staged moon landing. And the rumor is that he was approached by NASA because he had done a movie back in 1968 that was called 2001 A Space Odyssey. And allegedly he denied. He's like, no, I'm not going to do this. And NASA threatened to out his little brother because his little brother was a member of the Communist Party. So apparently, after that threat, he was like, all right, fine. Like, I'll direct your fucking moon landing. And he spent like 18 months filming the footage for Apollo 11 and Apollo 12 moon missions. And in that movie, The Shining, that I was talking to you about, they said that he kind of like apologized by inserting a Apollo 11 sweater on Jack Nicholson's son, the character in the movie. And that was like his way of kind of like acknowledging and apologizing to the American public for deceiving them. But his daughter's like, that's bullshit. None of this is true. So fun stories though, right? Like I love a good
Mm-hmm.
conspiracy theory.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so moving on to the second one. Actually, before we move on, what are your thoughts on that one?
I don't know that I have thoughts. However, I do believe Area 51 is real. I believe There's a lot of soft disclosure in
You're
the
focusing on
movies.
Area 51. That's what stuck out to you from all of
Yeah,
that.
Area 50. Well, that and then like the movies, like the things that they show in the movies, which are kind of like preparing us for maybe something bigger to be announced in the next coming years. So, like conspiracy theories, guys, I'm kind of down with it. I'm here for it. I believe a good amount of them, but not all of them. Some of them are just like batshit crazy.
So I heard recently that have you heard the conspiracy theory about the recent submarine tragedy?
Oh my, no, but the fucking astrology for last week and this week, maybe that's why I feel like I'm going under because, Nichole, some of the stars and the asteroids that were active when that happened were active at the same time that the Titanic went down.
Oh, that's going to be a great episode to do at some point in the future.
And okay, so Titanic, Titan, all of these like water asteroids in the sky being activated. I don't know. There's something to the astrology for sure.
Huh. So I heard one of the conspiracy theories is that they're all alive and that they
Oh,
just like escaped. That it was like their way of kind of like starting over and starting a new life. That's all.
um,
Because, right, they were like millionaires or billionaires, right? They were people with like a lot of means that
mm-hmm.
were just like, ah, fuck it. Like, and I was reading recently that the son of one of them was going to go, I think, with the dad. And he started like hearing a bunch of things that sounded like super sketchy. And he's like, no, I don't think I want to go after all. And he's alive, right? He like saved his own life by not going.
I mean, I think they've passed, but
Right.
that's
But the conspiracy theory is that
that's
this was their
wild.
way of starting over and like starting a new life.
I don't even know what to say to that, but okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. So the second one that we're going to talk about involves our favorite president, who we briefly mentioned in the first one. So JFK.
Mm-hmm, daddy,
What'd you call him?
daddy.
Oh,
He had daddy vibes, like, but you know, the whole thing with Marilyn Monroe and his brother being involved with her too. I'm like, no, that's disgusting. We don't share.
they were Eskimo brothers and real
Oh,
brothers.
literally.
Mm-hmm. So they did a survey back in 2013, and about 51% of Americans said that they believed that there was some kind of conspiracy behind the assassination of JFK. So tell me what you know about that day.
So I know the astrology of that day, and with respect to his family's charts. Now, I remember when I first started studying events, astrology of events, that was one of them that came up on just like a random Google search and blog. And it really makes you question just their whole legacy in general and like why that family was so doomed. But what I know about the event itself is there's a lot of discussion as to whether or not the person that they accused of murdering him was actually responsible for that murder. And I know his name. His name is Lee Harvey Oswald, right?
Good job, Gabs.
Hey, okay,
You get an
but yeah,
A in history today.
not always, but today, yes.
What day did it occur on?
I don't know the day.
November 22nd,
22,
19,
great number.
1963.
We gotta ask Dad about this. He was awake. He was alive.
Oh, yeah, he was alive. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we should have brought him on.
He has a story about it. He always loves to tell his stories.
Oh, maybe we'll bring him on when we're done. Okay. Is he there?
I think he's getting his haircut, but he should be back by the time we're
Okay.
done.
Tell him to text you.
Okay.
We'll mic him up. Okay. So JFK on November 22nd, 1963, he was in Dallas, Texas, and he was struck by 2 bullets and he died that day. And he was so young. I mean, he was like the youngest president, period. But yeah, when he passed away, he was 40. 6, and he had been in office for 3 years. So he was 43. That's crazy. That's so young.
That's
Like,
so
what an
young.
adult.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Adult
uh,
vibes for sure.
a fun fact, you guys, for you listeners out there. So when we went to Massachusetts, when I had my first psychic reading, that I was like, it was like right before. No, that was like the start of my awakening, October 2018. We made our way to the Kennedy compound,
Oh
and
my
we pretended
God.
like we didn't know where we were at because there were literal like guardians like asking us, and they pulled us
Yeah.
over there. Do
They're
you know
like,
where
do
we're at?
you
And we're
know
like,
where you're at? We're like,
no,
we're
we
lost.
don't.
We're like taking pictures of the compound,
We know
fucking
exactly. We
tourists.
know. Yeah, we have. I still have the photos.
Yeah, fucking tourists. Anyway, so Lee Harvey Oswald is the one that was arrested for the assassination. And 2 days later, he was killed. He was murdered on live TV by Jack Ruby. And it was kind of random. You can see like the pictures. I don't know if I've ever seen the video, but I know I've seen pictures. So Jack Ruby was a Dallas nightclub operator. He was obviously found guilty of murdering him because they like had him on camera and photographs. So he was sentenced to death and then he appealed his conviction, but he died of cancer before he was able to be given a new trial. And he died on January 3rd, 1967. So immediately after Kennedy's assassination, they started doing an investigation. And it was the Warren Commission that did it. And they said that Jack Ruby acted alone in killing Lee Harvey Oswald and that he shot him just kind of like on impulse and just out of grief for Kennedy's assassination. But some people don't believe that because they say that Jack Ruby was involved with like major figures in organized crime and that he was acting as part of an overall plot around the assassination of Kennedy because um, John F. Kennedy and Bobby Kennedy, they were really focused on organized crime and taking down the mob. Like that was like one of their main goals. And, Jack Ruby was involved with the organized crime people. So just one.
That's really interesting. Why do you think the Kennedys and him in particular had so many haters? Because they
Oh,
did. Like the whole family just like there's so many books written about them, and I know you've read them
yeah, I've
about.
read a few.
Yeah, like I just don't get it. That's so you like your past life as a spy coming in, like, oh, studying, reading all about these historical figures.
I think maybe they had a lot of haters because like they were pretty hot shit back then. So maybe that's like
Mm-hmm.
part of it, right? Um, Along with that, I think they were also like rest in peace, very cocky and arrogant because they were hot shit. I've heard their dad was a dick. So I think there's just a lot of other factors that went into it.
Yeah.
So, think about my love for The Rock. Why do I love The Rock? Because he's hot shit, but he's also very like humble. He's very down to earth and isn't yeah, he's just, like you can't relate to him because he's The Rock, but he has those pieces of like being like humble, right? And just being a person.
Mm-hmm.
So I was telling my husband the other day, we were watching a movie and Shamar Moore was in there, and you probably don't know who he is,
He's an
but
actor.
he's an actor. Yeah. He started
Mm-hmm.
out on Young and the Restless.
Mm-hmm.
So fucking hot.
He is
So
hot.
fucking hot. He's hot and he's
He's
like
hot.
older and he's hot.
Well preserved.
However, I was telling my husband that I used to follow him on social media and I had to stop following him because he was such a douchebag and just so into himself. And like that, like I wasn't into that. Right. So I think when you have people that are like hot shit and know they're hot shit and like have that type of energy, it's like, ugh,
Yeah.
like I hated on him real quick.
Yeah.
I still think he's hot, but not hot enough to follow.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Warren Commission investigated and they concluded that Lee Harvey Oswald also acted alone. But some people think that the CIA hired him because of the president's reaction to communism and the Bay of Pigs invasion. And other people think that the mafia, right, because they were so intent on going against organized crime, Cuba or the Soviet Union were behind the assassination.
Mm.
And so when people were looking at videos, they were saying, like, there's no way that Lee Harvey Oswald could have killed the president from where his location was. And I've read, no, actually, I think I've watched documentaries. I think it was a documentary that I was watching a long time ago. And I remember them saying that Lee Harvey Oswald just wasn't like a great shot, maybe. I want to say that's what it was. Like, he wasn't a great shot. So there's like no way he could have killed him because he wasn't, like, he just wasn't good, right? He wasn't like a sniper. Or maybe he was a sniper. Maybe I'm making that shit up. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. But anyway, recently, like, more people are coming out and saying, like, no, Lee Harvey Oswald did do it. But I don't know. It's always seemed super sketch. It's always been like, huh, are you sure? Because I remember even hearing something about, like, the way, like, if you slow the video down, the direction that the bullets are coming from, like, they're coming from maybe the front, when maybe Lee Harvey Oswald's location was like behind or vice versa. So they were saying like the direction that the bullets came from don't even line up with the location.
Mm.
So who knows? I mean, he was pretty controversial. So
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Oh, I think I said we had 3, but I actually think we have like 4 to cover. So
Just say that.
yeah. Number 3 is the conspiracy theory that 9/11 was an inside job. So we were talking about 9/11, right? Anybody, for the most part, that was alive during 9/11 knows where they were,
Mm-hmm.
with the exception of like the people that were born in the year 2000. They're not
And
going to
more.
remember. Yeah, they're not going to remember. No, but like if they were 1 years old, right? They're not going to
Oh,
remember.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different allegations around
Mm-hmm.
9/11,
Mm-hmm.
and white people think that it was an inside job.
Mm.
And there were so many documentaries that came out, and I remember watching one and it was really good. And I didn't get to finish watching it. I was in community college. It had to have been like 2004, so just like a few years after it happened. And it was talking about like this camera footage from a gas station that got recovered and like nobody ever saw it again. And the professor that showed us the documentary, he was like kind of like a hippie, like a Mexican hippie, you
Okay.
know?
He was ahead of his time.
Yeah, like he was still kind of like stuck in the 60s, even
Mm-hmm.
though he was like much older, but like you could tell he was like an activist at one point. And yeah, he was super funny. I mean, he just showed up to class high all the time, and he would tell
Oh
us
my
about
gosh.
on marijuana, high on marijuana. You could
Uh-huh.
smell it. But he would talk to us about like peyote sweat lodges, like ceremonies that he would go to.
I want to do that.
Have fun. I'll wait
Well,
outside for you.
I would need a supervisor, so you
I'll
might.
wait outside for you where I won't be sweaty.
Okay.
So anyway, so recently I started watching, when I was getting ready for this, I started watching one of the documentaries, and it's on YouTube. It's called Loose Change. And it's pretty interesting. Again, like they pose some really interesting ideas. But the conspiracy theorists believe that the government wanted to use the attacks to justify invading Iraq and Afghanistan because of oil interests. And who was president at the time?
Nixon.
9/11.
Oh, 9/11. Good Lord. Sorry. I was like, Nixon. Bush.
Baby Bush, right?
Baby Bush. Yeah.
And where did
He.
Baby Bush's family get their money from?
Oil.
Oil.
Mm-hmm.
So, interesting.
There's a lot in that particular family's history where you're just like, shit. Some of the decisions he made, questionable for where we're
Yeah.
at now.
So, one of the claims is that high level government officials had advanced knowledge of the attacks and maybe assisted in the attacks. And that documentary that I was watching was talking about these like war games, like war game exercises that they were doing prior to the attacks and then doing also the mornings of the attacks and just how that all played out. Really interesting.
Hmm.
Um, Another theory is that the collapse of the Twin Towers were the result of controlled demolitions instead of like it being structural failure because of the impact and the fire. And I mean, it is really interesting if you remember how the towers went down, right? Like they fell down, right? It wasn't, it did look like a controlled demolition if you've seen one before. And it was a little bit similar. It
Yeah.
was similar.
Yeah.
So that one I always thought was kind of interesting because I mean, I remember watching it go down.
That was awful. Yeah.
Yeah. A third theory is that the Pentagon was hit by a missile that was launched from inside the US and wasn't hit by American Airlines Flight 77. And there was a lot of footage that came out that didn't show a lot of plane wreckage. Like there wasn't, like they found little things here and there, but it didn't look like enough of a plane wreckage from a big jet, right? And so they were saying that the damage also to the building wasn't as extensive as it would have been if it was hit by like a commercial airliner. And in watching that documentary, they were also talking about how the plane hit a specific part of the Pentagon that had just been like not remodeled, but it had just been, oh, what's the word I'm thinking of? Where they're making like they're reinforcing it. So it was a reinforced part of the building and that it hit that specific part of the building, which because of that, it resulted in a lot less deaths than it would have if it would have hit any other part of the Pentagon. Um, so yeah, just a lot of interesting ones there because there wasn't a lot of plane wreckage, like at all.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't much at all. So that one is,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah, look up that one.
That's, yeah. I don't know. I don't know what to make of that.
Another theory is that the hijacked planes were being controlled remotely. So I almost think of there's this man that used to be at the park near my house and he had a remote controlled plane and he would sometimes fly it around. So I just think about like having the remote controls and like flying these hijacked planes. But another theory, not much else information wise with that, but just an idea.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Another theory is that United Airlines Flight 93 was shot down. So, according to official reports, the passengers on board of that flight attempted to take back the plane from the hijackers. And when they were struggling, that's what caused the plane to crash in that open field in Pennsylvania. So, with that, same thing, they were saying there wasn't a lot of plane wreckage that was found, and that the crash site itself was too small for, again, a commercial airliner, right? So they're thinking that actually the plane was maybe shot down by the military and disintegrated over a larger area and that it didn't actually crash. So again, right, not a lot of remnants of planes that would have crashed.
Hmm.
Okay.
So interesting.
And the last one is that insider traders knew about the attacks. So, Gabs, what's insider trading? Do you know? I feel like
With respect to
this is
money?
something you would know. Huh?
With respect to money, you mean? So day trading, it's kind of like this idea that like hype. Well, this is one example, but you get the idea through the example that certain political figures, choose to stay in office because they're aware of certain deals that are going on that are going to affect particular stocks when it comes to day trading and making amounts of money that ultimately could benefit them. But it's because they have that knowledge, they have that insider quote unquote knowledge. So that is how I understand that
Right.
to be.
So in the days before the attacks, they said there was, quote, an extraordinary amount
Mm.
of put options. And so put options are investments that pay off only when a stock drops. So it's usually the opposite, right? You want the stock to go up. But here it was okay, the stock is going to drop. And it was on two stocks, two different airlines. And it was American Airlines and United Airlines, which were the two airlines that were hijacked. So some people are saying that the traders had been given advance warning of the attacks and were cashing in on what was to come.
Hmm.
So those are the thoughts as far as 9/11 being an inside job. What are your thoughts on those?
As someone who's been involved with the FBI and the Department of Justice and seeing what information from those stories is shared on the media, there's surprisingly a lot of truth to what is shared on the media, but not all of it is entirely accurate. So some of those are you can't really deny it. Like for example, the stock options. How would they know? You know, why? That's a really interesting coincidence. But I
Mm-hmm.
feel like with some of these examples, I think I'm 50-50 on them. I don't agree with a lot of them. I don't, but I believe some of them because not all conspiracy theories are lies. Some of them are actually legit.
Or some of them have maybe elements of truth to them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the last one we're going to talk about is the presidential 20-year death curse. And I had never heard of this,
Yeah, me
and I
either.
heard it recently on one of my new favorite podcasts,
Oh,
Beyond the Shadows, and
hey
they did this
guys.
on episode 15, Cursed. So Beyond the Shadows is our new friends, Ryan and Scott. And we actually wanted to share a trailer for them guys because I really am enjoying their show. They talk about aliens. So that's where we heard that whistleblower episode. They talk about true crime. They talk about cryptids. You know, they kind of cover a lot of the other darker, scarier things that I'm into. So check them out. Okay, guys. So the presidential 20-year death curse. With two exceptions, since 1840, United States presidents that have been elected in years ending in zero have either been killed or have died of natural causes while they were in office.
It's wild.
So let's start with 1840. William Henry Harrison was elected in 1840, and he died of pneumonia at the age of 68, 1 month after he was inaugurated. He didn't last very long at all.
Yeah.
Abraham Lincoln was elected in 1860, and he was assassinated by John Wilkes Booth after he started his second term in office, and that was in 1865. So about 5 years after he was elected.
Shouts to his wife for doing seances in the White House because they definitely did.
Yeah, I think we covered that really briefly when we did the divination tools
Mm-hmm.
episode. Episode 8, 7,
Yeah. Somewhere in there. Check it
6
out,
by
guys.
4,
Leave a review.
something. When we talked about Ouija boards.
Mm-hmm.
Um, James Garfield, he was elected in 1880, and he was shot in the back of a Washington Railroad station waiting room in July 1881, and he died a couple months later in September of 1881. William McKinley was reelected in the year 1900, and in September of 1901, after he gave a speech in Buffalo, he was shot while shaking hands with well wishers, and he died from his wounds about a week later. So re-election in 1900. Warren G. Harding, he was elected in 1920, and he died of either a stroke or heart attack in 1923. The rumor was that his wife poisoned him.
I love that last name. Gabrielle Celeste Harding. That would be so like, it's like a stripper name. Like a rich stripper name.
Is that what career move you're moving into?
No, but
Is that what we're doing?
I think about like my last
Not we,
names.
but you. Yeah.
No,
Okay.
I like what I do now, but sometimes I'm thinking about like what my future last name's going to be, and I'm like, I wonder what the numerology is going to be for that, because that's what I'm going to be taking into account. But I just like the way that the Harding sounds. So yeah. Anyways,
Yeah. I just wonder what he did that his wife poisoned him.
I know.
Was he fucking cheating on her? He was probably
Oh,
cheating on her. She poisoned him.
yeah.
So the next one is Franklin D. Roosevelt. So he was reelected in 1940, and that was for his third term. And he suffered a massive cerebral hemorrhage. Let's start that. Those words are so hard for me to say. Okay. Franklin D. Roosevelt was reelected in 1940 for a third term, and he suffered a massive cerebral hemorrhage, and he died just after starting his fourth term in 1945. That's crazy. 4 terms. Like, the people loved him.
Was he the one that after he served? I mean, probably not, because he had a fourth term. But like term limits, did they come
They
into
started
play?
imposing term limits. Yeah, because, right? 4 terms.
That's a long time.
He was the one that had, I think, was it like polio maybe as a baby? So he was like wheelchair bound.
I mean, that was less than 100 years ago. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I wonder if people reincarnate as presidents, if they reincarnate.
As
You know?
presidents again, or just in
Like,
general?
just like what do they decide to do?
Mm.
Like, they have
Yeah.
to come back. They've already like fulfilled. Anyway, these are where my thoughts go, guys.
Okay. John F. Kennedy was elected in 1960, and we all know that he was assassinated in 1963. Ronald Reagan, he was elected in 1980. However, he is the first in a line of presidents who have not died or been killed while they were in office, if they were elected in a year that ends in 0. There was an attempted assassination, and that was in 1981.
Hmm.
But he lived through it, right? So they're
That's my
saying
dad.
that they're saying that maybe he broke the curse, or they said maybe it's just sleeping right now. Maybe it's just taking a nap. The next president, George W. Bush, baby Bush, he was elected in the year 2000, but he served 2 terms. He had good health. He wasn't killed. He didn't die. So, right after, or not right after Ronald Reagan, but another one, he was fine. And then currently, Joe Biden, he was elected in 2020. He's the oldest president, though, to be in office. He's 78 or 79. He's still serving, and he hasn't died yet or been killed. So since Ronald Reagan, every 20 years, those have been okay.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So there's a couple ideas as to like where this curse came from. If you guys want to hear the first explanation, check out Beyond the Shadows, episode 15, Cursed, for one of the explanations. But the explanation we're going to cover here is going to get you excited, Gabs.
Okay.
Okay, so according to Mark Dodich, I hope that's how you say his name. He's an astrologer, and he's attempted to kind of look at the different reasons for the curse. And he said that it's more of a cosmic coincidence rather than a curse. And so he said that the curse affects sorry. He said that the curse overlaps with the alignment of Jupiter and Saturn, whose orbits lined up every 20 years.
Yep, I can see that. Yeah. Jupiter
Okay.
and Saturn, they aligned in
Okay.
2020. What happened in 2020?
So what'd you say? What happened?
Yeah, what happened in 2020?
Fucking COVID.
Exactly.
One of the two 20-year pattern failures, so Ronald Reagan, is explained by one of the two 20-year pattern failures. So the one with Ronald Reagan, the first one to kind of start it off as far as it not happening, is explained by the sign the alignment of the two planets occurred under. So alignments under the Earth signs, Taurus, Capricorn, and Virgo, have led to dead presidents. But Reagan's term occurred under an air sign, which he said is the reason why he survived and didn't die or get killed. What are you thinking?
Did you know that Reagan used astrology for all of his major decisions? And he never let anyone know his birth information because he didn't want that to be used against him. And he was very open about all of that. He was literally like an astrologer.
It's still not out now, even after.
Mm-mm.
No, interesting. Mm-mm. Okay. So, according to this astrologer, Dodich, in the year 2000, Jupiter and Saturn were twinning again under the Earth sign of Taurus, which he said isn't going to happen again for another 600 years. And so he's saying that that kind of ends the deadly curse cycle. But what do you think? I see your mind going.
I'm thinking about the math in my head about that. That's quite possible. Yeah. But we won't be here. We'll be in another dimension. So
in 600 years?
Yeah, we'll be non-existent. We don't know what's happening with Earth.
We won't be here.
Mm-mm.
Anyway, so that's kind of the main ones that I wanted to focus on. Some of the more well-known ones. I thought we were gonna have more time, or I didn't think they were gonna take as long, and I had so many other really cool ones, so that might be a fun kind of mini episode at some point, or maybe not mini, but just another episode.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, guys, if you have any conspiracy theories you want to share with us, let us know. But Gabs, what do you think? Did any surprise you? Did you learn anything? Are you a conspiracy theorist now?
I'm a believer of them. Maybe not all of them or all of the information about one of them, but I definitely think there's truth to the theories. And I do think I was most fascinated by the information for the 20-year curse for the presidents. That was so interesting. And the fact that it all occurred under those earth signs. And Reagan, who like literally was an astrologer himself, just because he became so familiar with the practice during his presidency, the fact that he was able to escape that, like I'm sure he knew about it too, you know? So very interesting.
Yeah, I hadn't heard about it until they did that episode. And I was like, ooh, this is really cool. Let me look it up.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, check them out, guys.
What surprised you?
About
What surprised you doing this research?
Oh, I think I really resonated more with the 9/11 stuff just because it's my lifetime. I remember it happening, so that was more just resonated more. Like it was more interesting for me, I think, to like watch the documentaries and kind of read a little bit about it because I've heard some of those before.
Yeah, so sad.
And then just hearing the reasoning behind the allegations, like that part was kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, when you see the monument, I mean, that was one of the main reasons we decided to visit New York, and I feel like you and your husband would really enjoy it, particularly your husband. It's really like your jaw just drops just being in the presence of the memorial and stuff. But Yeah, I can't even imagine what that was like. But I know where I
Oh, it has to
was.
be so heavy.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, happy birthday, America.
America.
Make sure you guys are not setting off illegal fireworks. Don't keep me up. Don't keep up the neighbors. You know, I used to love 4th of July. It was my favorite holiday. And then I got older and I became grumpy. It's fucking loud. I'm trying to sleep because then people are still setting them off for like a month afterwards.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck? I just want to go to sleep, you know?
And even like the week before, it's
Yeah.
just starts.
And then when you have a baby, right? People that have dogs, I know people that have dogs don't like it. And like from what I've heard, a lot of veterans and people that have served hate it. So just, you know, be considerate when it comes to your fireworks.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree.
Okay, guys, you know how to find us. Come find us. Go find our new friends.
Yes.
Go find Heather and Rachel. And go find Ryan and Scott. Check them out. Okay, guys. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.